How's it going, guys? It's Noir Tapes back with another video. Today I'm doing a plugin review of Sketch Cassette 2. Another lo-fi plugin I've had for a little bit. I got it when it was on sale a bit. I've used it a limited amount, but I'm excited to learn a bit more about it by reading through the manual and breaking down the plugin for you guys. So if we look on the screen, right behind you here, I've got two samples here. One's a piano sample and the other one's a drum loop. I'll play them together because it sounds kind of dope. It already sounds like a mad beat, so... You know, your boy coming through with that heat. Love my dark shit, and this is no exception here. Gonna use Sketch Cassette to do some manipulation of the sounds to make them sound a bit older and lo-fi. I've got the manual on my phone here, and I'm gonna break it down, read through the plugin, and give you guys some examples. So this is Sketch Cassette 2 right here. It's kind of a cool looking plugin. It's got like a really cool cartoon look to it. I'm gonna go from left to right, top to bottom, as I normally do with these plugin reviews, and try to break it down best I can, and then I'll show you some examples, and then yeah, we're chilling. Maybe do a price comparison. I'm sure if you look through my plugin reviews up in the top here, there's plenty of other lo-fi plugins I've done that would compare to this in a lot of similar ways, but I will have a look anyways. So first it says here that Sketch Cassette 2 was inspired by 4-track cassette recorders. Sketch Cassette 2 unlocks the full range of cheap tape sounds, while also offering flexibility and control to push your sounds even further into lo-fi weirdness. So first we'll look at the top left. This is the tape type control section. So firstly we have type 1, which it has in brackets here is the ferric type of cassette, and then type 2 is chrome, and type 4 would be metal. That's the tape formulations that it's referring to. And the fourth button here allows you to bypass any of the tape types. Type 1 is generally the worst, and as it goes up, it gets better quality. Type 4 is similar to CD quality apparently, but keep in mind that they all have a unique profile. The high end and the low frequencies are the parts that will be affected by this, so play around with it to your taste, see how you like it. And then just below type 1, 2, and 4, there's cheap, value, standard, and master. They're referring to the quality of the tape. So Type 1, Type 2, and Type 4 are modeled based on different types of cassettes made out of different material. And then cheap, value, standard, and master refers to if you pick this tape up at like a Sunday market, or if you're in a professional studio, you know, that's what it's meant to simulate there. So each tape has these options. You can just play around with it to your taste. Obviously cheap would be the worst. It would probably have the most lo-fi sound, master being the best. Then down below, to the bottom left here, we have the age. This is pretty self-explanatory. New will sound the best, worn will sound the worst. This is just meant to emulate how old the cassette is. This will essentially add a low-pass filter to the sound, removing a lot of the highs, because a lot of the quality of the sound sits in the high end, and as the years have gone by, our ability to get better sounding high end has increased. So the more worn it is, the less the high end will be accurate. Then you have the hiss knob that adds hissing noise. That's common with cassettes. This just controls the volume of it. The saturation knob here refers to a bit of soft clipping distortion you can add. You have type A and type B. Type B being more harsher and brighter, type A being a bit more subdued, and then this controls the level of that. Then you have dropouts down here. This refers to the problem that cassettes have when they get old. They start to have audio dropouts. Occasionally it will just cut off for like a split second, not too long. So the depth knob controls how intense the dropout is. The intensity knob affects how frequently it drops out, and the width knob affects the dropouts between the left and the right channel, whether they're the same on time or whether they move slightly, so there's a dropout on the left quickly followed by the right, or vice versa. Then we move up here to wow and flutter. I've talked about wow and flutter on a lot of other lo-fi plugins. It's a very common thing to find on lo-fi plugins. Wow is a slow pitch manipulation and flutter is much faster. This generally happens when audio signal comes from older sources, usually on cassettes though. Basically the cassette has a tape that runs around, and if you touch it or pull it or even just, you know, slow it down a little bit, you'll hear the pitch change. It's like if you have a vinyl spinning and you slow it down and speed it up, the pitch changes. Same principle with a cassette tape. It's just a piece of tape that runs around and you can adjust the pitch by touching it. And that's essentially what you're trying to manipulate here. The depth affects how much pitch is being changed, and then the rate is how quickly these changes are happening, whether it's nice and slow whether it's faster. You can change down here the type of wave that these follow as well. Wow and flood is based on a frequency wave, and you can change it whether it's just a normal sine wave, whether it gets a bit crazy, or if it just goes up once and then drops back down. That's where you can adjust on the wow. On the flutter, it's only sine or crazy. And then over here, you can turn on and off tempo sync, which allows the modulations to follow along with the tempo. So the higher your tempo, the quicker it is. The slower the tempo, the slower these modulations happen. And then over here, you can offset the wow and the flutter so they happen at different times right here, just by adjusting the knobs forward or back. The flanging knob down here allows you to create somewhat of a flanger effect with the wow and flutter. The more you turn this up, the more dry signal that's been fed in alongside the wow and flutter, and it creates this flanger-like sound. So that's what that adjusts here. And then just down the bottom here, you have the mode, which is just wow and flutter. If you click it, it turns to FM mode, and you can see the wow becomes the mod. Essentially, this allows you to create flutter modulation. It says here that it can be used to create realistic sounds, such as a dying battery in a cassette player, or you can get crazy with it and do some crazy sound designs. Either way, you have the option there. Down the bottom here, we have the NR comp, which is the noise reduction compressor. So you can turn it on and off with this switch. Apparently, this is a pretty common feature on cassette decks because they have that cassette noise in the high end. So you have this compressor to get rid of some of that and make it sound a bit more normal without that digital noise. So what this does is acts like a multi-band compressor. So this adjusts the brightness of the noise reduction compressor when it's turned on, and then this adjusts how strong the signal is from this noise reduction. You can use this to mute some of your highs after all the noise is added, or you can use it to brighten the highs. That's all it's used for. And then the last thing we have up here is the mix section. You have two knobs here. One's called tape and the other's called comp. This comp knob just refers to the noise reduction compressor signal, so you can mix that muted or boosted signal with your other signal coming from the rest of the plugin, which goes through the tape knob here. So if you turn these both to 0, you would have the default sound. You can mix the wet sound from the rest of this plugin with the dry sound with this knob, and then this noise reduction compressor can be mixed in to all of it. Or if you really wanted to, you could just have the tape all the way down to 0 and just use the noise reduction compressor in this plugin on your sound coming in. It's up to you. But basically, they're both dry and wet knobs. And there we go. That's a quick breakdown. There is a user manual down here if you need to look at it. That's pretty much what I was reading. Let's do some quick examples, eh? So first, I'm just going to have the piano playing, and I'm going to start messing with it. So basically what I did, I went through the whole plugin and just added things and adjusted things. And then afterwards, I turned it on and off to get a before and after feel. Essentially, I made it sound like it's coming from an old cassette. Just to point out before I continue as well, this plugin has noise that continues after you stop the sound. You can see it still coming through in the top right up there. That annoys me sometimes, but it depends. Sometimes I'll be in the middle of making a beat and I'll be like, where is this sound coming from? It's annoying me. It's not a big deal. You just need to know where it's coming from, otherwise it can cause you problems. But yeah, that would be this hiss knob right here. It just has a continuous hiss that happens. But yeah, so essentially I made this sound like it's coming out of a cassette, this piano sample. It was from a fully mixed and mastered like song. It's a sample from a song. It already sounded a little bit old, but essentially what I did was I put it through a cheap cassette, which filtered down the highs a lot, and I added hiss back, and I added some saturation, some wow, and I made that tempo synced as well. And then I used the NR comp to bring up the brightness again, and then I just mixed the signal with the tape signal. So this is before. It already has some like digital noise as well, but I've basically taken that off and made it sound like it comes from a cassette. So this is with the plugin on. So that sounded pretty good. Definitely sounds like it's coming from a cassette. I love that. Now I'm going to use it on the drums here. This is what the drums sound like by themselves. Already pretty gritty, but now I'm going to turn it on and sort of get rid of the highs a bit and make it sound really gritty. So similar process as with the piano sample. I just went through the whole plugin, added things that I wanted to, and adjusted the levels till I liked it, and then added the comp at the end and then mixed that signal. This is before. It sounds very wide and open and bright, and then this is after. Sounds very gritty and old. Sounds like it's coming from a cassette. That's the whole point of this plugin. So let's play them both together. So I've got Sketch Cassette turned on for both of them, and now I'm going to play them together. This is a good example when to use Sketch Cassette or any lo-fi plugin to dirty up your sounds. This is already a pretty open beat as it is, but if you want to get an artist to rap on it, you want to make it simple and nice and dulled down for them. And so we'll do a quick pricing comparison. At the moment, Sketch Cassette 2 is going for $33 USD on Plugin Boutique. So I've done a plugin review on Tape Mellify. I'll put that in the corner here. But you can see the pricing difference is huge. It's like 70 bucks. I would say Sketch Cassette 2 definitely has more versatility. Tape Mellify might be easier to get the sounding lo-fi, and it has less knobs, so it's quicker and simpler. But honestly, for the price, I would pay for Sketch Cassette 2 over Tape Mellify. The slowdown feature in Tape Mellify is really cool though. The big wheel here. You'll see it in my plugin review. It's a really cool feature, but honestly, you can emulate that with a pitch plugin and slowing the tempo down as well, and you'll get that same sound as long as you print out your sound. But yeah, definitely Sketch Cassette 2 over Tape Mellify. I was planning to do a cassette review. I have cassette. I've used it a couple of times, but it has a lot of options. It's huge. It is double the price of Sketch Cassette 2. If you have the money to spare, I would get cassette over Sketch Cassette 2 because of the versatility and the higher quality sound, definitely. Sketch Cassette 2, while it is versatile, it's also kind of simple in some regards too. It's intuitive, and you're not going to spend too long playing with knobs and trying to figure it all out. I think it's a good middle ground between some of these plugins. Like you can see Analog Pro down here, similar price. It's only got 5 knobs on it, right? It's simple, but it's about achieving the sound you want, having the versatility to be somewhat creative, but also the quality of the sound. I would say if your budget's strict, or you're just looking for a plugin that'll get the job done, definitely go Sketch Cassette 2 because it's a good price. And it's a good middle ground between some of these plugins. If you want to get really in depth with recreating old sounds and getting creative in many different ways and getting unique sounds, and you have the money, cassette is definitely better. But as I was saying, I haven't even done a review on it, mainly because I'm scared to do it. I've used it a few times now. You can get a sound to where you want it to be pretty quickly with cassette, just using the front page here. But the thing is, and this is why I'm scared to do a plugin review, there's a whole nother page where you can adjust all these different parameters to like a T. It's absurd. And I'm kind of scared to do a plugin review because I'll have to deep dive into all these different parameters and figure it all out. It's probably going to be like a half-hour video at least. But I'll get there eventually. Eventually I'll do cassette. I definitely have that plugin, and I think it's really nice too. Really good sounding. But anyways, cassette would be the level above, but Sketch Cassette is fine by itself. I would definitely do it. I wouldn't buy Tape Mellify over Sketch Cassette 2. I didn't buy it myself. Tape Mellify was actually free when it first came out. That's how I got it. So I got lucky in that regard. But yeah, Sketch Cassette 2 is definitely a good plugin for what you want it to do. Thank you for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it. If you still stick around, please like and subscribe. Plenty more reviews coming. Plenty more videos coming. I'm trying to come up with new ideas all the time and use some of the different gear I have around to create different unique concepts. Thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.